Most people chasing wealth are chasing the wrong target entirely. What they actually want is the big house, the expensive car, vacation homes, watches, status. They want others to look at them and think that person has made it. And honestly, I get it. I felt that pull too. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Nobody wants to admit this represents a fundamental mistake that will cost you everything. I've known wealthy people my entire life, some through family, others through business. And the pattern is almost disturbing in how consistent it is. The ones who accumulated money for material possessions, miserable, nearly without exception, trapped by the very things they believed would set them free. More stuff means more maintenance. More status creates more anxiety about losing it. More possessions demand more protection. You become a prisoner to things that were supposed to liberate you. Getting rich is not about having things. Getting rich is about independence. That point deserves repeating because most people won't absorb it the first time around. The entire purpose of building wealth comes down to not depending on anyone else for your livelihood, not asking permission from people above you, not tolerating fools who waste your time, and not spending your days doing work you despise for people you don't respect. Warren Buffett put this simply when he said what he really wanted was independence. The ability to do whatever he wanted in life and associate with whoever he chose to associate with. That's the actual luxury. Not the private jet, but the freedom underneath it all. My drive to get rich never came from wanting expensive things. The independence itself was what I desperately wanted. And that distinction changes everything about how you build wealth. Something undignified exists in having to send invoices to other people, in begging for work, in enduring a boss you don't admire, in sitting through meetings that waste your time, and in pretending to agree with people you know are wrong. If you're watching this and still working under someone you don't respect, here's something uncomfortable to consider. Every day spent in that situation represents a day you're choosing that situation. You may have good reasons for staying and you may have responsibilities that demand it, but at some level you're making a choice and that choice has consequences that compound over time. Getting rich before 50 has nothing to do with retiring early and sitting on a beach somewhere. What it's really about is gaining the power to make different choices, to walk away from bad situations without financial terror, to say no to things that diminish who you are, and to spend your remaining decades doing work that actually matters with people you genuinely like. That's what we're going to talk about today. No get-rich-quick schemes, no stock tips, and no fantasy about overnight success. What we're covering instead is the actual mechanics of building wealth in your 30s and 40s so that when 50 arrives, you have options, real options, the kind of options that most people never obtain because they made predictable mistakes. And we're going to discuss those mistakes in detail. Most people who want financial freedom never achieve it. And the reason has nothing to do with intelligence or opportunity. Patience is what they lack. And patience is what separates those who build wealth from those who dream about it forever. The desire to get rich fast is genuinely dangerous. And that's not a moral statement, but an observation of what actually happens to people who try accelerating, timelines that cannot be accelerated. Here's what the get-rich-fast person does. They hunt for shortcuts and take on excessive debt. They make concentrated bets on things they don't understand. They day trade and chase hot stocks. And they buy lottery tickets. Sometimes those lottery tickets are literal, and sometimes they're metaphorical in the form of speculative investments that promise extraordinary returns. What happens next? Most of them fail. Not some of them, most of them. But here's the part that really matters. The failures don't just fail to get rich. They often end up worse than when they started, having lost money, lost time, and lost confidence. Some of them never recover from that combination of losses. No such thing as a 100% sure thing exists when investing, which is why age becomes so dangerous. A string of wonderful numbers multiplied by 0 will always equal 0. And that's the arithmetic of ruin that catches people by surprise. Don't count on getting rich twice. Destroying your capital through impatience may mean you never rebuild it because the math is unforgiving. Losing 50% means you need a 100% gain just to get back where you started. And losing 90% creates a hole so deep that most people never climb out. Smart people go broke 3 ways, and the saying goes liquor, ladies, and leverage. The first 2 are really just there because they start with L. Leverage is the real killer. Borrowing money to accelerate returns amounts to playing with fire, and sometimes the house burns down completely. Now here's why patience proves so difficult for most people. Human beings carry wiring for immediate gratification that developed in an environment where calories were scarce and tomorrow was uncertain. Our brains reward us for taking what we can get right now, which makes saving for the future feel like punishment, while spending feels like reward. This wiring represents a bug, not a feature. And if you don't learn to override it, you will never build wealth. Great investing demands enormous amounts of delayed gratification. It requires sitting there with cash and doing nothing while everyone around you makes money on some new speculation. It means watching your friends buy bigger houses while you continue living below your means. It means staying G-patient for years and sometimes decades. Most people simply cannot stand to wait. If you didn't get the deferred gratification gene, you have to work very hard to overcome that limitation. Here's the blunt truth. If you cannot control your spending, you cannot get rich. If you cannot defer pleasure, you cannot compound your wealth. If you need to impress people with your lifestyle, you will trade your independence for their approval. That trade is terrible. Something I wish someone had told me when I was young centers on one specific number. The first $100,000 represents the hardest money you will ever accumulate. And after reaching that milestone, you can ease off the gas slightly. Why? Because of the elementary mathematics of compound interest. At small amounts, compounding barely registers. $1,000 earning 10% produces $100 in gains, which isn't going to change anybody's life. But $100,000 earning 10% produces $10,000. And that amount starts to feel meaningful. $1 million earning 10% produces $100,000 in a single year. The same amount that took years of savings to accumulate in the first place, and now the money generates it automatically. This explains why the first $100,000 matters so much. It's the foundation. And once you have it, your money starts working for you in ways that compound into something substantial. Getting there requires specific behaviors. First, spend less than you earn. This sounds obvious, but here's the truth about most people. They don't do this. They spend exactly what they earn or more. They remain perpetually at zero, never building any foundation whatsoever. Second, save something every month without exception. Not when it's convenient and not when you feel like it. Every single month, put money into a tax-deferred account. Over time, it will begin to amount to something. This is such a simple concept, yet most people refuse to do it. Third, avoid the toxic mistakes. The car you cannot afford, the house that stretches your budget to the breaking point, the lifestyle inflation that devours every raise you receive, and the credit card debt at 20% interest that works against you just as powerfully as compound interest could work for you. Once you get into debt, escaping becomes hell. I've watched people dig themselves into holes that took decades to escape from, if they ever escaped at all. The arithmetic is simple. The discipline is hard. But if you cannot develop that discipline, you're going to need a lot of luck. And luck makes a terrible strategy. Before continuing with the mechanics of building wealth, we need to address something that most financial advice ignores entirely, which is what you do for a living and who you do it with. 3 rules apply to career selection. First, don't sell anything you wouldn't buy yourself. If you're out there pushing products or services you know are bad, you're causing damage. Damage to your customers, obviously, but also to yourself. You're training yourself to be dishonest and building a career on a foundation of manipulation, and eventually that catches up with you in ways you can't predict. Second, don't work for anyone you don't respect and admire. This isn't about finding a perfect boss. It's about avoiding working directly under somebody you really don't admire and don't want to become. That situation is dangerous because we're all subject to control by authority figures to some extent, particularly authority figures who reward us. If your boss operates unethically, pressure to operate unethically will find you. If your boss demonstrates incompetence, bad habits will develop in your own work. If your boss lives in misery, that misery will seep into your life whether you notice it or not. This lesson arrived early for me, and I maneuvered cleverly without criticizing anybody so that I ended up working entirely under people I admired. That outcome wasn't accidental, it was strategic. Third, work only with people you enjoy. Life is too short for spending your days surrounded by people who drain your energy. This isn't about being soft or needing comfort all the time. It's about the practical reality that you will spend more waking hours with your coworker than with your family, which means you should choose those people carefully. Here's where this connects to getting rich before 50. Violating these 3 rules might still produce money, but you will pay for it through stress, through compromised integrity, and through becoming someone you don't want to be. And often the money earned in bad situations gets spent on coping mechanisms, the drinking, the shopping, and the expensive. Vacations meant to escape from a life you don't actually like. Warren Buffett expressed this perfectly. Take a job that you would take anyway if you were independently wealthy, because you'll learn something, you'll feel excited about it, and you'll jump out of bed in the morning. He also said something I've always remembered. Taking jobs you don't like because you think they'll look good on your resume is like saving up sex for your old age, which is not a very good idea. The goal is building wealth while also building a life worth living. Otherwise, what exactly is the point? Something that should shock you if you actually think about it involves where most wealth actually comes from. Most of the money you will ever accumulate arrives during a small number of years. The years at the end, the years when your money has compounded long enough to generate serious returns. Simple arithmetic illustrates this clearly. Suppose you save $10,000 per year starting at age 25 and earn 10% annually. At age 50, you would have accumulated roughly $1 million. Here's the revealing part, though. More than half of that million came in the final 10 years, and more than a quarter came in just the last 5 years. Now suppose you wait until age 35 to start. Same $10,000 per year and same 10% returns. At age 50, you have less than $400,000. Waiting 10 years costs more than $600,000. This isn't advanced financial theory. Basic arithmetic drives everything. Most people ignore it because the numbers don't feel real until you're 50 and suddenly realize what you missed. Understanding both the power of compound interest and the difficulty of obtaining it represents the heart and soul of understanding a lot of things about wealth. The difficulty is genuine. Saving money is hard, waiting is boring, and watching other people spend while you defer is psychologically painful. But that's exactly why the strategy works, because most people cannot do it, which means the rewards flow to those who can. Someone sitting in the shade today enjoys that comfort because someone planted a tree a long time ago. That's literally how wealth accumulation operates. You plant trees for a decade or two, and then you sit in the shade for the rest of your life. Or you don't plant trees, and you spend the rest of your life in the sun wondering why you're so uncomfortable. The first rule of compounding states this clearly. Never interrupt it unnecessarily. Every time you raid your savings for something you want right now, you're not just spending that money, you're spending all the future, money that money would have become. A dollar spent at 35% might have grown to $10 at 65. Think about that the next time you're about to buy something you don't actually need. Most success in life emerges from knowing what to avoid, which is not intuitive for most people. Everyone wants to know hat to do. They want the secret formula, the 10 steps to wealth, and the hidden strategy that produces results. But the real leverage comes from avoiding stupidity. What's remarkable is how much long-term advantage people can accumulate by trying to be consistently not stupid, rather than trying to be very intelligent. Here's what to avoid. Avoid debt for consumption. Borrowing money to buy things that lose value creates a path to permanent financial stress. The car you financed, the vacation you put on a credit card, and the furniture you didn't need all set you back in ways that compound negatively. Avoid financial complexity you don't understand. If someone tries to sell you an investment you cannot explain to a child, walk away. The financial industry overflows with products designed to extract fees from confused customers. You don't need complexity. Patience and simplicity serve you better. Avoid people who make you feel inadequate about your lifestyle. These people are poison. They will push you to spend money you don't have to impress people you don't like. Distance yourself from anyone who makes you feel that your worth gets measured by your possessions. Avoid the envy trap. Someone will always be getting richer faster than you. And this isn't a tragedy, but simply reality. If you let envy drive your decisions, you will take risks that destroy you. Stay in your lane and run your own race. Avoid self-pity. When things go wrong, and things will go wrong, don't wallow. Self-pity sits fairly close to paranoia, and paranoia ranks among the very hardest mental states to reverse. Drifting into self-pity serves no purpose. Every time you find yourself drifting into self-pity, stop immediately. That response won't improve the situation. It will only make everything worse. A technique that helps involves flipping the question. Instead of looking for success, make a list of how to fail through sloth, through envy, through resentment, through self-pity, through entitlement, and through all the mental habits of self-deed. Avoid those things and success becomes much more likely. This approach is called inversion, turning the problem upside down. All I want to know is where I'm going to die, so I'll never go there. That's a joke, but it contains real insight. Avoiding disaster often matters more than chasing success. A mental model exists that will change how you think about every decision you make going forward. Opportunity cost acts as a huge filter in life. What this means is simple. Every time you choose to do one thing, you simultaneously choose not to do something else. Every dollar spent represents a dollar you cannot invest. Every hour wasted represents an hour unavailable for something productive. Every commitment made closes off other commitments. Intelligent people make decisions based on opportunity costs. They don't ask whether this is a good opportunity. They ask whether this is the best opportunity available to them. Here's an example that clarifies this. Suppose someone offers you an investment that might return 8% per year. That sounds decent on its face. But if you could put the same money into something that returns 12% with similar risk, the 8% option isn't just less good, it's actually bad. It costs you 4% per year for as long as you hold it, and those costs compound over time. The same principle applies to your time. If you're spending 4 hours a day watching television, that's 4 hours you could be reading, learning, building skills, or working on a side project. Television isn't free. It costs you everything you could have done instead. When you get married, you have to choose the best person you can find who will have you. The rest of life works the same damn way. Everything operates as a comparison. Everything carries an opportunity cost. Once you internalize this framework, you start making much better decisions across every domain of life. This explains why avoiding stupidity keeps coming up. Every stupid decision carries an opportunity cost. Every bad investment means you didn't make a good one. Every wasted year means one less year to compound your wealth before 50. The clock is ticking. Act accordingly. Something important needs to be said about trading time for money. Most people sell their time by the hour. They work 40 hours and get paid for 40 hours. They work 50 hours and get paid for 50. This is the wage economy, and it has a hard ceiling on how much you can earn. Only so many hours exist in a week. If you're billing your time, the number of hours you can work caps your income. This applies to lawyers, consultants, and anyone else who sells their hours in exchange for payment. Living under a billable hour quota of 2,400 hours a year would have caused serious problems for me. I wouldn't have accepted that arrangement. The reason relates to value creation. Billing hours is not the same as creating value. You can work 80 hours a week and still trade your life for a fixed amount of money. You remain dependent on the next client, still running on the treadmill with no end in sight. The alternative involves building assets, things that produce income whether you work or not, investments that compound, businesses that run without your daily involvement, skills that command premium prices in the market. This isn't about working less. It's about working differently. Building things that grow produces different results than billing for time spent. Here's the uncomfortable truth that many high-earning professionals refuse to acknowledge. Many of them are not wealthy. They have large incomes but spend it all. Trapped on the hamster wheel of earning and spending. When they stop working, the income stops immediately. That's not independence. That's just a well-paid job. Getting rich before 50 means building wealth that sustains you regardless of how many hours you bill. It means creating options for yourself. It means getting off the treadmill entirely. A secret about successful people deserves your attention. In my whole life, I have known no wise people who didn't read all the time. None of them. Zero. You would be amazed at how much Warren Buffett reads and how much I read as well. My children laugh at me because they think I'm a book with a couple of legs sticking out. This pattern isn't coincidental. It's cause and effect. Reading operates like compounding for your mind. Every book you read builds on every book you read before. Your understanding gets richer. Your mental models get more sophisticated. And your judgment improves over time. Answers worth billions of dollars hide in $30 history books. And I mean that literally. The patterns of human behavior, the causes of business success and failure, and the principles of economics and psychology are all documented. You just have to read. But most people won't read. They'll watch television, scroll through social media, and consume entertainment designed to distract them from their own lives. They will reach 50 with no more wisdom than they had at 30, having wasted 2 decades of potential learning. Don't become one of those people. I constantly see people rise in life who are not the smartest and sometimes not even the most diligent. But they function as learning machines. They go to bed every night a little wiser than when they woke up. And that helps enormously, particularly when you have a long run ahead of you. Spend each day trying to be a little wiser than when you woke up. Day by day, if you live long enough, you will get out of life what you deserve. This is the real compounding. Not just your money, but your knowledge. Both work the same way. Both require patience. Both reward consistency over time. Something most people don't think about involves the transformation that happens through proximity. You become like the people you spend time with. This isn't mystical, it's psychology. We're social creatures who absorb the attitudes, behaviors, and values of those around us. Spending your time with complainers transforms you into a complainer. Spending your time with spenders transforms you into a spender. Spending your time with people who have given up on their dreams will cause you to give up on yours. This explains why who you work for matters, why who you marry matters, and why your social circle matters. If you want to get rich before 50, surround yourself with people who have done it, not people who talk about it, people who have actually built wealth. Study what they did, absorb their habits, learn from their mistakes. Robert Cialdini wrote a book about influence and persuasion that everyone should read. One of his key insights involves social proof, our tendency to look to others when determining what behavior is appropriate. If everyone around you spends everything they earn, that will feel normal. If everyone around you saves and invests, that will feel normal instead. You can use this principle deliberately. Choose your environment. Choose your influences. Don't leave these critical factors to chance. Warren Buffett once posed a thought experiment. Would you rather be the world's greatest lover but have everyone think you're the world's worst? Or would you rather be the world's worst lover but have everyone think you're the world's greatest? Choosing the second option reveals an outer scorecard. You care more about what others think than about reality. This path leads to misery. The goal is an inner scorecard. You know what you're doing and why. You don't need external validation. You're not trying to impress people who don't matter with money you don't have for things you don't need. People with inner scorecards build wealth. People with outer scorecards spend it. Something that seems obvious, but most people ignore, involves the limits of human capability. You cannot be good at everything, which means you must be very good at something. The generalist receives the generalist pay. The specialist receives the specialist pay. If you want to build wealth quickly enough to have options by 50%, you need skills that command premium prices in the market. This doesn't mean you shouldn't have broad interests. Read widely and learn about many fields. Develop what could be called a lat-quest work of mental models from different disciplines. But when it comes to earning, you need depth. You need to become so good at something that people will pay you significantly more than average. What should that something be? Ideally, it meets 3 criteria. First, you have a natural aptitude for it. Fighting your own nature is exhausting. Find something that comes relatively easily to you. Second, the market values it highly. Being the world's best at something nobody will pay for is not a path to wealth. Third, you can become genuinely interested in it. You're going to spend a lot of time on this work. You might as well enjoy it. Where these 3 circles overlap, natural aptitude, market value, and genuine interest, that's where you should focus your energy. Get very good at that thing. Then get paid what it's worth. Most of you are not going to do what I've described in this video. That statement isn't meant to discourage you. It's meant to be true. The principles I've outlined are simple, but simple isn't the same as easy. Saving 30% of your income when everyone around you spends 100% of theirs requires psychological strength that most people don't possess. Waiting patiently for compound interest to work while you could be buying things now requires delayed gratification that most people cannot sustain. Choosing to work only with people you respect when you need a paycheck requires courage that most people won't summon. It's waiting that helps you as an investor, and a lot of people simply cannot stand to wait. So here's my challenge to you. Be one of the people who can. Be one of the people who understand that discomfort now leads to freedom later, who understand that patience isn't passive, but an active discipline requiring constant reinforcement, who understand that the crowd is usually wrong, especially when it comes to money. Benjamin Franklin understood this principle deeply. He lived below his means and retired wealthy at 42. He spent the rest of his life doing exactly what he wanted, including science, diplomacy, writing, and inventing. He didn't need anyone's permission or anyone's paycheck. That outcome is available to you, but you have to earn it. Not through brilliance, through discipline. A picture needs to be painted here. You're 49 years old. Tomorrow is your 50th birthday. You're looking in the mirror, taking stock of your life. In one version of this story, you followed the principles we've discussed. You spent less than you earned for 20 years. You invested consistently. You avoided debt. You developed valuable skills. You built something, a nest egg, an asset base, a foundation. Now you're looking at the second half of your life with options. You can keep working if you love your work or stop if you don't. You can take risks, try new things, and pursue interests that don't pay well. You can walk away from situations that compromise your values. You are free. In another version of this story, you did what most people do. You spent everything you made. You financed a lifestyle you couldn't afford. You took the job that paid well but crushed your soul, telling yourself it was temporary. You meant to start saving, but there was always something else that needed the money first. Now you're 50 and you're trapped. You cannot stop working because you have no savings. You cannot change careers because you cannot afford the pay cut. You cannot walk away from the bad boss or the toxic client because you need the money. The next 20 years will look exactly like the present because you have no choice. That second version isn't hypothetical. That's most people. That's the default outcome. I'm asking you to choose the first version instead. What we've discussed can be summarized into a formula you can actually follow. Step 1, decide that independence is your goal, not material possessions. This is a mindset shift. You're not trying to look rich. You're not trying to impress anyone. You're trying to build a fortress of savings that gives you options. Step 2, calculate your freedom number. How much would you need invested to never work for money again? Take your annual expenses and multiply by 25%. That's a rough estimate of what you need at a 4% withdrawal rate. Your goal is to reach that number or get close enough that work becomes optional. Step 3, spend less than you earn every month without exception. Target at least 20% of your income for savings, 30% if you're behind, 40% if you're serious. Step 4, invest simply and consistently. You don't need to be clever, you need to be consistent. Put money into diversified investments regularly. Don't try to time the market. Don't try to pick winning stocks. Just keep putting money in year after year and let compounding do the work. Step 5, increase your income. Saving is essential, but a limit exists on how much you can cut. No limit exists on how much you can earn. Develop valuable skills, negotiate for more, create side income. Build assets that produce returns without your labor. Step 6, protect your capital. Don't lose what you've built. Avoid leverage, avoid speculation, avoid the hot tips and the too good to be true opportunities. Wealthy people stay wealthy by not making catastrophic mistakes. Step 7, stay patient. It takes time. No way around this exists. You're going to spend years in the accumulation phase before seeing meaningful results. That's normal. That's how it works. Accept it. Following these steps from your mid-30s onward will almost certainly lead to financial independence by 50% or shortly after. Not because you're smarter than everyone else, because you're more disciplined. What life looks like on the other side deserves discussion. When you have enough money that you don't need to work, something remarkable happens. Work transforms from necessity into choice. Some people assume wealthy people stop working, but that's not true. Many of them work more than ever. What changes is how they work. They work on things they care about. They work with people they admire. They work because they want to, not because they have to. Warren Buffett is in his 90s and still runs Berkshire Hathaway, not because he needs the mo, nay, because he loves it. He said he truly feels like tap dancing to work every day. That's the real goal, not stopping work entirely. Getting to a place where your work feels like tap dancing. This becomes possible only when you have independence, when you can walk away from anything that doesn't serve you, when your financial security doesn't depend on any single person, company, or situation. The greatest luxury in life isn't a yacht or a mansion. It's the ability to say no. No to bad deals, no to toxic people, no to work that compromises your integrity, no to anything that doesn't align with your values. Money buys that luxury, not the trappings of wealth, but the freedom of wealth. Something that might make you uncomfortable needs to be said as we close. Everything I've said in this video is essentially simple. Spend less than you earn. Invest consistently. Be patient. Avoid stupidity. Develop valuable skills. Work with people you respect. Think in terms of opportunity costs. None of this is revolutionary. None of this requires genius. These principles have been known for centuries. So why do so few people do it? Because discomfort stops them. Saving when you want to spend is uncomfortable. Waiting when you want results now is uncomfortable. Living below your means when your peers are living large is uncomfortable. Saying no to temptations is uncomfortable. But here's what's more uncomfortable. Being 60 years old and realizing you have no options. Having to work a job, you hate because you cannot afford to quit. Watching your freedom slip away year by year because you never built the foundation. The discomfort of discipline now is far less than the discomfort of regret later. To get what you want, you have to deserve what you want. The world is not yet a crazy enough place to reward a whole bunch of undeserving people. You have to earn independence through discipline, through patience, through consistency over time. No shortcuts actually work. But here's the good news. If you do the work, you will almost certainly succeed. The principles are proven. The math is on your side. Compounding favors the patient. Spend each day trying to be a little wiser than when you woke up. Live below your means. Invest shrewdly. Avoid toxic people and toxic activities. Keep learning all your life. Doing all those things makes success almost certain. And if you don't do them, you're going to need a lot of luck. I don't recommend luck as a retirement strategy. The choice is yours. You can keep doing what you've been doing and get what you've been getting. Or you can start today building the foundation for a different future. 50 is coming whether you prepare for it or not. The question is this: what will you have when you get there? That's it for today. If this video made you uncomfortable, good. It was supposed to. If you found it helpful, I would ask you to share it with someone you care about who needs to hear it. And if you're already on the path to financial independence, keep going. The destination is worth the journey.